Greetings. Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagenow, and we are back here in the Hendrickson Library at the Center for the Preservation of Western Civilization at ITR World Headquarters in central Iowa. Got John Hendrickson and myself today here ready to thrill and excite you on another episode of the Gold Standard in Iowa Conservative Entertainment. John, you ready to roll?
I am,
Good.
Yes, yeah.
I usually like to say we have a lot to cover, but I'm not sure that that's actually the case. But we do have a few things that we want to get to. Reminder to everyone, and I keep trying to do this on the front end, is that if you're listening on kind of your regular podcast channel, we are on video. So check that out on YouTube. If you like us on YouTube and want to take us in the car, don't watch the video in the car. Click on the podcast. So anywhere you want to find podcasts, we will be found there. So please subscribe, please like, and do all of those things. Okay. I had a new idea this morning in pre-production, John, and I can tell this look of terror that's coming onto you right now. So I thought about this week. One of the girls' soccer team at the boys' school, they did hype videos for their state tournament run. They didn't do that for the boys' soccer team, but I digress. But I was wondering how could we get you interested in doing some hype videos for the ITR Live podcast?
I still need to find out what a hype video is.
Well, it would be a lot of you standing there, like arms crossed, looking really tough with maybe some fog machine going behind you and, and maybe some cool camera cuts. And some really cool music. And I don't know if it's you spiking books on history or what it would be, but I don't know. That's the new idea. It's like maybe we could do some John Hendrickson hype videos.
Yeah. We can give it a try.
It would fit, I think. Yeah. Get everyone. So instead, we've got trivia.
Yes. Yeah.
So what do you got for trivia?
Well, last week no one responded last week, and our question was, who was the president that had a dog by the name of Laddie Boy, who was the dog was nationally famous, and he even joined the president in cabinet meetings. He had his own cabinet chair in the cabinet room, and so his owner was President Warren G. Harding.
Oh, okay.
So and the question today,
I have one.
Yeah,
I just saw this, and I don't know why. The only U.S. president who did not speak English as his first native language.
I don't know this.
Hayes.
Wow.
Who's Dutch.
Anyway. Wow.
Yeah, I just saw. I don't know where I saw that.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go, John. That's freebie for you.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So 40 years ago this week, a John Hughes movie came out called Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, most of our listeners probably aren't familiar with that, John. I'm kidding. Yeah. we're all well aware. Okay.
And one of the more famous scenes in there was Ben Stein, who was an economics teacher, and he famously calls the roll, and he gives two economic lessons. Mm-hmm. One is on the Hawley-Smoot tariff, or the Smoot-Hawley tariff. Mm-hmm. And our trivia question is, what is the other economic lesson?
I know this,
and I'll give listeners a hint. He says it. President George H.W. Bush called it.
Yeah.
Voodoo. What?
Yeah.
And so we're looking at what. There's two possible answers to this, but what was Ben Stein teaching us in that famous clip?
I thought you were going to go the other way around and ask people if they remembered Smoot-Hawley.
Yeah. I thought about that, but then I thought this would be a little bit easier,
right.
and just to hopefully to give a little more interest and participation, we may soon have prizes.
We're working on expanding the ITR merch store.
Yeah.
Some gifts and prizes, and I know that because we've got a lot of asks on that. Specifically, people like Representative Bill Gustav, who routinely get the trivia right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so maybe it's participation prizes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a good idea.
You could get something soon.
You could. A couple of housekeeping items before we move forward, John. First off, condolences to the family of Senator Julian Garrett, who passed away this week. I served with Julian for several years when he was in the House, and then I moved over to the Senate. Been around Iowa politics and the legal community for frankly, a lifetime. But I think he was 85 and had been sick for quite a while. So our prayers go out to his family. Secondly, I have a retraction, and I rarely do this on the podcast, John. On our last episode, I mentioned that Americans for Prosperity had participated in the Lynn Evans primary. That is incorrect.
Oh,
That was not them, and they were really only in a few races, and also very successful in the races in which they participated in. But I wanted to make sure that I cleared the air on that. So with that having been said, continuing on with sort of political election news, since our last episode, both Rob Sand and Zach Lahn have selected running mates for the general election. Rob Sand started off, I don't know if it was late last week or early this week, selected Dave Muhlbauer, who is a farmer from Manila. I don't think that's Carroll County, but it's out that way. Might be in Audubon. I'm not sure, but out that direction, right? Do I have all that right?
I think so, yeah.
And then Zach Lahn selected State Representative Derek Wulf from, I believe, Blackhawk County is where he's from, rural Hudson, that area, who's also a farmer. So both candidates selected farmers as a running mate. That's not been the case recently for both sides, but thoughts on that, John, on just those picks or the fact that those were the profile of the picks, or does this mean anything at all and we should just move on?
No, I think both are very interesting, and I want to say you were correct in your prediction, first of all, but I want to say that also I think both of these are I think what Rob Sand did is trying to build on that, attracting rural voters.
Yeah, clearly that is.
So I think that's one thing he's trying to do, and I think with I didn't know this, but what you shared this morning, Representative Wulf was I think the first to endorse.
And
Zach
I don't
Lahn.
know the timing of the formal endorsement, but it had been very supportive of Zach Lahn early in the campaign.
And also being a rural voice and on ag issues. So I think there's some strategy by each one to bring those groups in.
I think you're right on Rob Sand wanting to pick someone, a rural candidate. There's only 2 or 3 to pick from anymore left in Iowa politics of rural Democrats.
Yeah.
But he did pick that. I think the profile sort of makes sense. You've got lawyer from Des Moines, picking someone from outside of central Iowa. I did kind of enjoy the hit that the Republican Party dropped on Muhlbauer right away out of the gate for some violations on some sort of environmental.
Yes, yeah.
I don't remember the exact thing, but it did sort of cut across the Rob Sand brand on some of the things he's tried to argue on water quality.
Yeah.
So it really worked. And I think, I guess what I really wanted to speak to is Derek Wulf. I think he is a really strong pick for Zach Lahn. I think it's interesting that he went to the ag community for the reason that some of the things that Zach Lahn has we've talked about this, John, aren't traditional Republican statewide issues in Iowa, specifically around water quality, cancer. Those should be things. And we both agree on that.
Yes, yeah.
The Republicans should be talking about it. And not to say that we're not talking about it, but the way his approach to it. So I think taking someone from the ag community probably indicates that, he's going to be pragmatic and a problem solver on this while continuing to be care about those issues a lot. Derek Wulf, I think, also was very well respected in the House Republican caucus. Was getting a lot of things done. You see that in the press releases and things he did. He may not have the high name ID statewide, but I guess I would say I think he's a very credible, not just any state legislator or anybody that is very effective behind the scenes. Now, I think what I will say on running mate selections, once you take office, it remains to be seen how what they'll be asked to do. Any lieutenant governor is given some sort of portfolio, but that ebbs and flows on how much they're given. And so that would be something to watch out for is how much are they entrusted with from a portfolio. Moving on, I think that that had to come out this week. The Republican state convention is this weekend.
Yes,
I
yeah.
don't think the Democrats are coming up yet, but that is where the Republican state convention is where the delegates will say, yes, Derek Wulf's our lieutenant governor candidate. I don't expect any trouble with any of that. Do you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. The other interesting thing that in talking to some of the folks that I talked to is Zach Lahn wins the primary. I mean, we're now a week off of that, over a week off, week and a half. But he's doing a lot of work to staff up the campaign as they transition to a general election. And that's one of the areas where Rob Sand has gotten a head start because he's been running a general election campaign for months. And now they've got to spin up a larger campaign for Zach Lahn. And I think they're having very good success in doing that. But it's just one of those things that you don't necessarily see that's a campaign function that has, and it takes time. Mm-hmm. And so I think you'll see them expand the campaign. You'll see a lot more of them. I think Zach Lahn's been very visible himself, but it's just occurred to me that they do need to spend a fair amount of time getting that rolling. And but again, I am encouraged, or I'm impressed with how quickly at least the Republican Party has coalesced around Zach Lahn. Would you agree with that?
I would, yeah.
Which is important, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they have to have a unified front, and because they're not just going up against Sand, who's very popular, and the Democrats, but I would argue that Sand also has an advantage of the media establishment on his side, in a sense of getting whatever he basically does gets media attention. So I mean, it's that's one thing that he has going for him, which the establishment media is in his corner.
One of the unknowns for me heading into the general election, John, is because I agree with you. I think that Rob Sand has gotten largely a free pass, and frankly, even a leg up going through this. But now we're in general election mode, and this is the face-off, and now the real bright lights, and it's showtime. Is how does him and that campaign respond when the real hits, the real contrasts start coming? And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But we will see. I mean, I know there was another. You're going to see some of the hits coming out. I think it was a Republican Party again this week had some audio from some sort of internal Democrat event talking about how Republicans had to take a taste of their own medicine on judicial nominations. Well, that's not the kind of language that you would expect to hear from somebody who's talking about being governor for all.
Yes, yeah.
When he is openly advocating for political retribution for the other party. That makes that sell a lot harder.
Yes.
And again, if I'm running the Zach Lahn campaign, one of the things I'm trying to do is turn Rob Sand into generic Democrat. And we'll see whether they can do that or not.
Yeah.
But those statements certainly do feed into that. Mm-hmm. Anything else on the governor's race, John, before we move on?
No, I thought it was interesting that you have to help me with the first name, but the Kentucky governor
Beshear
was here, and of course he's being sort of promoted as the centrist national Democrat, possibly for 2028, coming to campaign for Sand last week, and so that was no surprise.
Well, he certainly does have national notoriety as exactly that. I'm not going to use. I struggle to even use the word moderate, but less liberal red state governor from Kentucky who has successfully gotten himself elected and reelected. I'm sure there are a lot of the power players in the Democratic Party that would love nothing more than to run an Andy Beshear nationally, and that's why these folks come to Iowa. Make no mistake. But I will be I have a hard time imagining any scenario where this current iteration of the Democratic Party nationally could nominate someone with his profile.
I agree.
They're far more likely to nominate someone out of the AOC mold than they are a call it moderate governor from Kentucky. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
But whatever. Okay, I do want to hit on a couple other articles that are more issue specific that you forwarded this last night, John. The final report on the Universal Basic Income Project. Frame up the Universal Basic Income, what happened here in Iowa, and then we'll just make fun of the quotes in the article.
So this to give some quick background on this, this was a project that was started a few years ago, a couple of years ago anyways, and basically from a few of the central Iowa cities that participated in this program, where they would provide a certain monthly stipend, what we call UBI, Universal Basic Income, to a group of individuals, and then they wanted to test to see how this impacted them in terms of how they're living and their economic well-being. And then what happened was the legislature, I believe would that be 2 sessions ago, had passed legislation prohibiting cities from
this was part of our proactive agenda that year.
Yes,
we had taken the report on where the money was being used for and put it in front of legislators. I think it was actually a really good example of this organization elevating an issue and getting a result on it. But sorry, I had to give ourselves a plug there.
No, absolutely right. And so universal basic income it basically simply says that a government entity, whether it's a local government, a state, or the federal government, will in a sense provide a monthly stipend of a certain amount to cushion your economic security. And this has been an idea that's been floating for a long time. And
was it Andrew Yang in the 2016 16 primary that really talked about this a lot?
And even some libertarians have even embraced this. Of course, in Milton Friedman and some others, but from their perspective, they said you got to get rid of the welfare state.
Sure. You don't get both.
Yeah, you don't get both, and that's the big
you get all the entitlements, and then you get by the way, here's your fund money.
Yeah,
come on.
And so what happened here, and is for this report, is they gave $500 to these people, and they basically, the people said, yeah, that really helped me, and what it comes down. I know you're getting ready, but what it comes down to is when you look at overall these programs, one, the evidence shows it doesn't help. But I mean, if you give anybody, if I gave you $50 right now, it's going to make your day better. It's going to make your economic livelihood better.
Yeah.
And if I give you $500, it's even going to make it more better.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not justification for whether this program is a success or not.
Okay. It's my turn.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to start, because you're exactly right, John. I'm going to start reading. So here's the one of the lead researchers, Amy Castro from the University of Pennsylvania, says one of the things they looked at was if the participants felt like they mattered. Okay. Castro says the extra money helped participants feel validated in their communities, which led them to feel more self-reliant about moving forward. Lead researcher Stacia West at the University of Pennsylvania says the small financial boost gave people the mindset to plan for their future. It caused reductions in stress, bolstered agency pathways, importance, awareness, and reliance. John, is it the function of government, or is it the responsibility of the taxpayers to make people feel mattered?
No.
Like, there's a list of things that I think we all as Americans or Iowans accept as core functions of government. Some level of public safety, some amount of infrastructure, some amount of national defense, and frankly, even in modern times, some amount of social safety net. I have never heard that list include helping people feel mattered. Furthermore, there's a list of other things that we extend as benefits to people that, other sorts of benefit. But I've never heard this like as a justification to help people feel mattered. Or where else did we go? More self-reliant about moving forward. Yeah, I'm sure. Give people money, they're going to feel more. Give me a bunch of money. I'm going to feel more self-reliant. Let's give everybody money. I mean, where does it end?
That's right.
So I'm getting to the point, John. Do not. I gave you the microphone. So despite the absurdity of all of this, of taking our tax money, and I don't want to hear it from the voices out there that think this is such an awesome thing. Well, with stimulus money, I don't care. Either they were our tax dollars or made up deficit spending at the federal level handed on to states. All of it's crap, okay? It's all our money. We're all in this together. And that was just given by way of cutting a check to people. And let's see if it works. Also that they can feel better about themselves. I want $500. Give me $500. Here's my last point, and then I will let you close if you want. And I understand there are some arguments, like you said, maybe from some libertarians, or maybe we're transitioning to an economy where we don't need as many workers to make things run, and so what are you going to do? I still think we all end up maybe someday like the cruise ship on Wall-E, where they're all just sitting there enjoying life, but we're not there yet. We still have an economy that's based on people working. If you even for a moment, hypothetically, for the sake of argument, accept that some form of universal basic income might have merit, and I'm not, but for the sake of argument, why in the world is that being handed out by local governments in the state of Iowa? That's the real absurdity, that there is so much hubris among these local governments that they can somehow engineer the perfect life that they have envisioned for us peasants, that they think they can be the ones to hand out these magic benefits that make things better for the people around them. Get out. That's my tax dollars. No.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And this all comes back down to...
You can have the floor back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, we just got off of, talking about this property tax bill. And can you imagine what this would do to city budgets if they would have such a program? I mean, in terms of what the spending is a problem now.
Carry that forward. What would that mean to your property tax bill?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
You think you're mad about your property tax bill. Imagine what it is if we're cutting $500 checks to every low-income person in your community. Have fun with that, with writing that check.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing I think we need to point out here is that when we look at these type of programs, and I know it sounds cold-hearted, but it really isn't. When you look at the amount of money that has been thrown at these type of things, that since the Great Society, since LBJ has declared war on poverty, it did not work. It did nothing to alleviate the problem.
Correct.
And in fact, it made it worse.
And I'm going to take issue with what you said right there. It's not cold-hearted at all. What's the return on investment? That's how you ought to run government. And furthermore, I disagree with the premise. Let me back up. It's not cold-hearted because the set of benefits that are offered as entitlements in the United States of America are better than most places in this world. There are a few places in this world where it is better, or you have more of a leg up and a better chance to get ahead and a better chance to escape from poverty, or even a better chance to live, in as a lower income than here in the United States of America. And we have done that out of the generosity of taxpayers going back at least as far as the Great Society and before. There isn't one single thing cold-hearted about wanting to look at that set of benefits, how we deliver it, and say, is that value? Is that the best way to do it? Or should we just keep throwing more money at it? And that's where you and I have talked about this in the past, John, where we really have to change the narrative around this, is that we fundamentally believe that the solution to the problems or issues in our society are not just throwing more money at it. You want better schools? Maybe there's more than just throwing more money at it. You want to be able to lift people out of poverty? Maybe it's more than just throwing more money at them. Maybe it's finding ways to get them a good job or whatever it is. But the solution can't just be more money. That's exactly what this is. And it's by the wrong vehicle. local government has never been the one to deliver those kinds of benefits.
Yes, yeah, and it's also we are already seeing a tipping point on the existing entitlement programs, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and if you're going to create a new one, even I don't care at what level, it's these things are you're going to swamp the system, and one would argue that it's already the entitlement state, it cannot take much more with what's going on with our fiscal situation, and so it certainly isn't sustainable. It's not a sound fiscal policy at all.
I agree. John, I want to get to one other article that came up here, and we don't need to necessarily spend as much time on this, but we talked about this in pre-production this morning, though. This is in the Des Moines Register this morning. Des Moines considers pulling back tax incentives. What could it mean? First paragraph, in light of recent Iowa legislation, Des Moines is weighing a rollback of temporary tax incentives it is relied on to spur new construction development in the city. Great. That sounds like, nature is healing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, isn't this the kind of thing that we would like to see communities rethinking? Is handing out checks or however they're structured? And interestingly, and this isn't just coming from, conservatives. I can't find the quote right here, but Josh Mandelbaum, a liberal member of the Des Moines City Council. Again, here it is. It's been Mandelbaum said one of the issues he had with the tax abatement program has been overly broad and been incentivizing projects that don't necessarily need abatement. That's something that we have talked about with TIF around the state. We're seeing it outside our window here.
Absolutely.
How many of these projects and areas that local governments incentivize with tax dollars need the incentive in order to happen, right? And so I think that's an incredibly wise thing to be asking.
Yeah.
Okay, City of Des Moines, do you need the incentive to get this construction? And maybe at a lesser level, is that new construction valuable enough to the community around it to justify even some incentive? I mean, it's not growth uber alles, right? I mean, at some point, there you need to assess whether it's worth the investment. Yeah. Am I wrong?
No. And what I think what's happening here is that for decades, localities in Iowa have taken advantage of very progressive TIF and other economic development tools, and now that there's some constraints on those, they're sort of having meltdowns, and there should be constraints on them because, in a sense, it's giving advantages to select groups of people. And I had a conversation with one business owner this week that said, I don't get any of these deals. When I set up my business, I didn't have any incentive. I didn't get anything, special treatment. And so, economic development is one thing, but you have to make sure that there's priorities being met within what the city or county is doing. And, you can't just hand out tons and tons of these development deals. And the other thing you can look at is like the clawback provisions, and look at what happened in Johnston, where how many excuses did the golf project go through, and then it's
it was tariffs.
Yes, Johnston, the tariffs. Yeah.
Didn't seem to be bothering anybody else out here. We haven't got a construction update, but we got framing and concrete and all over the place out here.
Yeah.
So tariffs don't seem to be hurting any of those folks.
No, must be just select people.
I do want to I want to say this because maybe it's just my conscience. We're not deaf to the argument for some of these incentives, tax abatement, TIF, or whatever. Right? Is that maybe the revenue wouldn't be there anyway. But so here's the article. For decades, the city has operated on the general principle that deferring some property tax revenue today will generate more taxable value in the future when the abated value of the property comes back on the tax rolls. Well, that's the premise of this, right? We're getting some project, and it's going to generate more property tax revenue than we have today, so we're going to issue that as an incentive, and then we get the growth. Except it really doesn't, a lot of times doesn't work that way, right? Because that assumes that without the incentive, there would be no development at all. And I can tell you from out here in the west suburbs, this development's going to continue to happen.
Yes.
Whether you incentivize it with some sort of abatement or increment financing. So that sometimes, maybe things are a little different in certain areas of the city of Des Moines. Secondly, John, that assumes that at some point it comes back on the tax rolls. Now, we just got rid of perpetual TIF, but this isn't like, oh, we're going to abate this for 3 years and then everybody's property taxes go down because this new project came online. This is 20 plus years in the future. I mean, at some point, when do we see the benefit? Is it for my kids someday? And again, they're never going to, because you're just going to keep leveraging it forward. So I don't know. I understand the argument, and in a vacuum, if everything were set up right way and we were dealing with a slum or a blight area, that may all be the case. But, and that is sometimes the case in the city of Des Moines. I know that they have used some of these programs effectively in certain areas. I get that. I think if you look out across the state, it is often not that. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No, I mean, I that's right. I mean, that's why you have to have guardrails on these things, because it's not that economic development is bad. It's just that there has to be reasonable limits to it.
Right.
And oftentimes you're seeing that a lot of these things benefit certain groups of developers or special interests that, and then, local officials, even state officials, they get the incentive for it because they get to, do the ribbon cutting. And so they can say, well, look, I helped bring in X number of jobs, and look, I did this, and, maybe those jobs don't turn out though.
Yeah.
And so it always, the models always look better than what actually happens in most cases.
And again, if you need taxpayer money to make a project work, if it is not viable without the taxpayer money, that ought to be an indication that maybe it's just not viable. And what you're doing is you're removing that free market sort of allocation of resources. And now you're putting the heavy hand of government in to say what projects should happen or not. And the free market being the most effective allocation of limited resources in the history of human civilization. And now you're removing that from the equation just a little bit.
Yes.
So, from a more philosophical standpoint, how about we just let the free market work and we'll get the most and the best development? And again, we can put some guardrails on that, but let's just take government out of that and see if that works.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Very good.
Yeah, we should sometime invite our friend John Mazzina on and
that'd be good.
Yeah, talk about this, because he's a lot better than I am on this issue.
You just get me yelling. Yeah. That doesn't do us any good. So, all right, John. Well, thanks for getting me fired up today.
Yes.
On Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Again, thanks everyone for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends. And with all that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.